Hey everybody, it's Odin, and this week's video, we're going to be talking about furry scam stories. Now the fandom, it's great, it's wonderful. However, there are some bad apples in this fandom, just like there are in every single fandom out there. Some artists want to take advantage of you, take your money, take your time. It's awful. Most artists are great, don't get me wrong. Most artists are absolutely fantastic in this fandom, and you should still commission them. However, these are stories about the ones that aren't so great, and these should all serve as a warning to you to be careful who you commission. Now, I've asked my fellow furry YouTubers to send in clips of their scam stories, and I'm going to share them with you guys, and at the very end I will share my very short scam story as well. So I just want to get right to it. Here we go.
So, furry scams. This is going to be a fun one. I have been scammed once. It was a long while ago. I had commissioned this animation piece for my husband as a special present for Valentine's Day. I was so excited about it. It was one of my favorite artists. They did such high quality stuff. Now, I'm not going to actually name the artist in this because, I don't want to cause any drama, but honestly, I spent an insane amount of money on this thing. Like, it was so much. Like, it was going to be a really special, awesome gift for Chan. And the artist tells me that this animation is going to be ready in about 2 months. I'm like, okay, let's wait. Let's see what happens. 2 months rolls by, no communication. I reach out as politely as possible via social media and over FA to try and get a hold of them, and they just literally stop responding. They don't respond to anything. They don't respond to their email. They don't respond through PayPal. They don't respond to anything. And I'm like, great. Did I lose all this money on this animation? I kind of systematically keep an eye, see if their account posts anything. They're not posting anything for a long time, like a really long time. And then suddenly, a bunch of stuff starts popping up. So I'm like, great, they're active again. This is like 4 months later. I'm like, hey, that animation that I commissioned, can I get it now? And of course, they don't respond. And they start shadowing it again. At this point, I'm like, my money's gone. It's definitely gone. I'm not going to get this back. I reach out to FA and FA's support team, and I'm like, hey, listen, this artist, I commissioned them a while ago. They had all this stuff. They're still posting to the site. They're still very active. I showed them all the PayPal transactions and stuff, and they were actually able to suspend that account, at least temporarily, until things got worked out. The good news is with this whole story is I did end up getting my money back. I think by the time I finally got my money back, it was a year later, like a whole year.
Well, hello there. It's Riv from RL Furry Productions. I'm going to tell you about my fandom scam story, and it's a big one. Sometime around spring of 2017, I decided that I wanted a fursuit. I'd been active in the fandom for about a year at this point, and it was time to do it. I was really active on the Fur Affinity forums back then, so I posted something that I was looking for a fursuit, maybe from a smaller maker who had a shorter turnaround time than some of the big ones. Not too long after, I got a direct message from somebody who said she could make a fursuit for me. I sent her my ref sheet. She said she loved it, and she could make a full Digigrade suit for $3,200. She sent me some reference pictures of fursuits that she had made in the past, supposedly, and I thought it looked decent. So I started paying her. She kept asking for more and more installments until I had paid about $2,700. Now, at this point, the only progress I'd seen on the suit was a bit of the head that was done, and it didn't look so great. After I got those pictures, I quit hearing back from her. I gave her a month or so, figuring she was busy or had stuff going on in her personal life, and I finally messaged her a couple of times before she answered. When she did answer, she gave me a whole sob story about some medical stuff she was going through, and I bought it and gave her another month to work on the suit. And I'm starting to get nervous because I really wanted the suit for Midwest Fur Fest. Around that point, I completely stopped hearing from her again. I started sending message after message after message, and I didn't get anything back. Now, unfortunately, by this point, the deadline to file a dispute on PayPal and Etsy had expired for some of my payments. Luckily, I was able to file a dispute for $1,000. Once I did that, surprise, surprise, she contacted me immediately. She gave me some more of a sob story about health issues, which I didn't actually believe this time. She told me there was no way she was going to get the suit done by MFF. It was going to take a few more months, but in the meantime, she had this black wolf head that was completed that she could send me free of charge to use for MFF. So the only thing I had to do to get her to send me this wolf head for free was to cancel the dispute, which I stupidly did. So she actually did send that to me, and I got it, and it was incredibly poorly made and really derpy looking, but it was something for MFF. I managed to get feet and hand paws made on short notice, brought the thing to MFF with me, had a good time, but I still didn't have my suit suit, which was actually Riv, this character right here. And after that, I never heard from her again, despite sending messages and messages and messages, and I finally just gave up. People told me, well, you should take her to court. Problem is, she lives outside Minneapolis. I lived in Colorado at the time with lawyer fees and flying back and forth. Even if they could find her to make her come to court, it really wouldn't have been worth it. So I was stupid and I got screwed by a scummy person. 90% her fault, but probably 10% mine for being dumb. So be careful who you commission. Make sure they're reputable. Don't send a whole lot of money until you see some progress, and don't get screwed like I did. The only good thing that came from all of this is shortly after that, I won an auction for a Sparky Can Do commission, and I got this beautiful suit of Riv, which is about 9,000 times better than what I would have gotten for $2,700 from the scam artist.
Hi everybody, my name is Tally. This was a few years back and I was getting a fursuit for my partner at the time, and they had found a fursuit maker that they had really liked, and we were going to be their first customer. After figuring out a payment for the suit, it was going to be $700 for a partial suit, which is pretty cheap, and a lot of things just started to not add up. They didn't have a TOS, or terms of sale, or terms of service, for me to sign whenever I was ready to go through with the payment. That was the first red flag of many, but after that was done, we kind of just thought, it was kind of just a weird thing. It's the first suit. It's probably fine. They actually completed the phone base really fast. I think it was a couple of days or maybe a week. We were really excited to see it, but it looked off. It didn't look anything close to what they had made for their own suit. The eye shape was all different. The ears were different. The entire style just wasn't the same as the suit they had showed us that they had made. After they showed us that the phone base was complete, we would message them every now and then checking on the progress, and they kept putting us on red or just never responding, never looking at our messages, taking days to respond whenever they did. So I started looking things up and trying to get more information about this person. It turns out that the fursuit head that they said that they made actually was made by a completely different person, and that they were using that fursuit head, and they were using that fursuit head to get their own customers, since it was a really high quality head. I talked to the fursuit maker about this and they said, oh well, I just helped with it. Well, they're not anywhere close to where you live, bub. I don't think you helped. The fursuit maker had nothing but excuses to why nothing had been done in the period of months, and even if I received the fursuit that they were showing me, this was nothing of what I paid for, so I asked for a refund. Funny enough, the maker started telling me that they would have to warn other makers about my conduct, since, as quote-unquote developed makers can sometimes take years to finish a fursuit head, let alone update with their progress. I did manage to get some money back from this transaction, but this is just one of the risks that you take whenever you commission a first-time fursuit maker.
So I have two scam stories, and one of them, sadly, is a bit more common among younger furries, and the other is very fairly pure scam. That one, you couldn't have seen it coming. It was kind of just like, okay, I guess this person's just a butthole. The first one, I was 17, just joined the fandom, and was going to meets, and a friend of mine had told me how they commissioned somebody for a suit that was a local maker in our city. So I was like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. They don't charge much, they're a new person, they made their own suit, so it looked pretty good. So I was like, sure, I'll put in money for this. And, you know, it goes through the usual update process, except minus the pictures. And that's the issue, is, of course, that didn't bring up red flags for me. I was like, oh, they're just going to surprise me with it. And this keeps going, and we're about, like, a year in now, and, like, I understood there's usually long wait times. But then I started talking to the other people who also commissioned them, and they didn't see anything either, hear anything, and suddenly this person just goes complete dead. No call, no show, they just disappear off the grid. Taking all these people's, I think one person actually took them to court and got a really bad quality fursuit back from them, but like it really wasn't worth it. And that was a really sucky situation, and partially the reason why I built my own fursuits after that, because I didn't trust anybody for a long time. The second one happened at my first MFF. Now this was a year or two afterwards. It was my first MFF, and this was back when the dealer's den was still down in the basements of the Hyatt, so around 2016. Now this one we were going through, and I saw someone making bead badges, much like this one right here. Very cute, very nice quality, and I was all on board, and they were like, okay, it's a flat 100, and you just send them your character ref and everything. That's when I noticed there was kind of the issues, there was no terms of service or anything, and that's kind of normal for commissioning somebody at a convention, but it still brought up a lot of red flags now that I look back at it, and of course, me just wanting a really cool bead badge, I didn't think much about it. Now, it's kept going for a while, and they were like, oh, I have a huge queue, so they're working on it. They made it sound sound like they finished it. So next MFF rolls around, and they have a booth there then. So I go over to it. I'm like, hey, where's my badge? Oh, I forgot to bring it. What? After that, I kind of looked around. I saw they had a lot of Artist Bewares on them. Apparently, this is something they do a lot, where they'll take the money and then pretend that you never commissioned them. And I don't think they've really posted much anymore, so I think they finally got booted out, or enough stuff happened where they had to create a new kind of persona or something. So always make sure that you have references and evidence that you commissioned somebody, because they will just steal your money.
Hi, I am Abzu, and I bought a fursuit, and it didn't turn out so well. Around 2 years ago, I had a little extra money and was shopping around for a fursuit head. I went looking for one with the intent of fixing it up and seeing what I could do with it. I wasn't looking for a high-end made for you fursuit or nothing fancy like that. I got a pretty decent one for around 350 USD. That's pretty good for a fursuit head with light battery pack, arm sleeves, and a tail. I paid for the suit in full. It would be mailed at the beginning of May 2017. A week goes by, nothing. 2 weeks, still no fursuit. I contacted the seller and was like, hey, what's up? They responded with them being busy since they live on a ranch and they were having issues getting out to the post office, and there were minor issues with them getting their money out of PayPal to pay for shipping due to bank securities. I said that was fine. I know how hard it can be getting a ride somewhere, and all banks are different. They promised it would be mailed in like a week or so. An entire month goes by. I still have not received the suit. Last thing I wanted to do was counterclaim them. I think I was too lenient when buying this suit and should have just given up on it and saved my money at this point. Eventually, I got the suit at the end of June. There was an immediate issue when I opened the box. There were no arm sleeves, no tail, and no battery pack. The very things I paid for, I didn't get. I contacted them that I didn't get the items and they didn't mail them out to me till November. How is this a scam? There was a problem with the fursuit. A couple of them, actually. The LEDs stopped working, and I was like, what? The maker did mention that they were dim, but they still work. I took a seam ripper and ripped up the side of the face. What I discovered when I opened it, the LEDs were poorly soldered, a frayed iPod charger. I ripped out the LEDs and got a closer look. The wires were corroded and rusted. I immediately went to the maker with my frustration. I was like, how could you sell me a fursuit that has rust and corrosion in it? They said it was my fault. They told me they washed the suit before sending it to me. That explained the very musty odor it had when I got it, because it wasn't dried completely when I got it either. They're like, oh, you waited too long to tell them about this issue. No, I didn't open the fursuit until a couple of months I've owned it. I got it in June and I ripped open the head in November. How was I supposed to know the wires would magically stop working the month after I bought it? They continued to deny that it was their fault, blamed me, and eventually left our private chat that we had together. Anyway, that's the short version of everything that's happened.
So I'm not going to name any names when I say this story, because I still respect the artists and I don't want them to like lose any business over this, so please don't send any hate to anyone in the story. So basically, last year I decided to get some art of my persona, and basically what happened was I commissioned this person. I saw that a friend of mine liked their art, and art looked really cute, and you know what, the pricing wasn't that bad. I think it was something like, let's say it was like $40 or something. Basically, yeah. So I commissioned them and I talked to them about what I wanted. I gave them the ref sheet. Everything was good. Bada bing, bada boom. We were in business. Cool. 1 month later, no response. 2 months later, no response. 3 months later, no response. 4 months later, hell, no response. There was literally no response. Like for 6 months. I was waiting for 6 months. Now, I know that people have stuff going on in their lives. I get that. I understand that. But there was no communication going on whatsoever. And it just got to the point where I was sending them a message every single week. Just something like, no, sorry, well, every single month. You get the idea, like, and there was no response whatsoever. But, and here's the kicker, they were still accepting commissions. I saw them still producing art. Yet here was me waiting for 6 months without anything, not even a peep. So I had had to message them again saying, look, can I have a refund please, because I'm sick and tired of waiting. And the minute I said that I want a refund, they're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna start it right now. They did it there and then, literally within the day of me saying that. Within me saying I want a refund, they did it. Oh, but it gets better. So a friend of mine, they want a commission, right? And they get another one, and you know what they did? You know what the artist did? They used the exact same pose. Now, bearing in mind, our characters are the same species, right? They did the exact same pose, exact everything. The only difference was the colorings of the characters and the hairstyles. That was it. And they charged that person $5 less. $5 less for the same freaking pose, for everything. What? Like, again, like, I get artists, like, they have a business to run, right? They have their own lives. But if you can't run a business properly and you scam someone like that, basically taking their money for 6 months without anything, any word, and then pumping out something that quickly, and then reselling those assets to someone else for even cheaper, you don't deserve that platform. You don't deserve that money because you don't know how to freaking run a business properly. You don't. So yeah, that's how I got scammed.
My story is that I was at a convention, like, God, it had to be like 7 years ago, and there was this artist who did great watercolor pieces, and I saw them and I was like, I need that. So I went up to their booth and I ended up commissioning them, and it was about $45, I want to say. But this is 7 years ago, so $45 was a lot more to me then. I mean, it's still a lot to me, but you know what I mean. Anyway, I commissioned them. They got my contact information, but I made the mistake of not writing down theirs. I don't even remember the artist's name. I didn't remember the artist's name like right afterwards. I was like, wait, who was that? And cut to months later, I never got it. Cut to years later, I never got it. Cut to now, they took my money and ran, which is really unfortunate. I have no idea who it is, so I don't know who to hold accountable, but it's really unfortunate. And I've had a few poor art commissioning stories, and it kind of stopped me from commissioning art for quite a while. I have since, started commission more, and I have like good friends that I commission for all my art, like Scrap Teeth. He does all my merch, and he's wonderful, and I have no issues with him at all. So I hope these videos have showed you what not to do in a commissioning scenario, and they showed you all the warning signs and all the things to look out for artists, because you have to be careful. It's your money, and there are some few, very few in this fandom that are out to take advantage of you. And again, the majority of the fandom is great. But man, it sucks when there are those in the fandom who aren't so great. So thank you again to my fellow furry YouTubers for sending in clips. Their links to their channels in the description of this video, so be sure to check them out and send them some love for sending me a clip. I really appreciate it. And if you want to support me, check me out on Patreon at patreon.com/OdinWolf. It is the best way you can support me. It is how I can keep doing videos like these for you guys every single week. I have awesome rewards. Please check it out. Sincerely do. It is the best. And also I have a PO box. You can send me stuff and it'll open up in a future video for you guys. Anyway, it has been Odin and my fellow furry YouTubers, and bye-bye. Also, I want to do a special shout out for my two of them triple diamond patrons this month. We have Bluey Burnout and Metalcaster. Thank you both for being ungodly amounts of generous this month. I appreciate you guys so much, and I appreciate all my supporters on Patreon, but thank you too for your triple diamond support. Now let's get to the diamond supporters. For January, we had King 17, Virgil, Lord Hoot, Bioballs, Multiroid, Deku Panda, Funtime Wolf, Kunlo, and Lucario Knight. Thank you all for your diamond support, which I can't stress enough how much that monumental support really does mean to me. Thank you guys, and everybody at Platinum, Alpha EOP, Adam H, Wolf Medic, Kevin J, Rex Colt, Slip Fox Socks, Dayton, Robert Deere, Dante Wolf, Lexi Fox, Wolfie, Dynamo, and Tatanka. Thank you all for your platinum support. Again, generous as hell in January. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And everybody at Gold, Silver, and other tiers. Thank you for all your support in January.